You boys know what's about to happen to you. You'd leave now.
Some consider these traits to be toxic, such as undesirable in the men of today. We consider these traits such as these not only to be desirable, but to be appreciated and celebrated. Welcome to the Toxic Male Appreciation Show, hosted by and La Reina Creole. Welcome to the safe space for the toxic male.
So actually, we're going to talk a bit more about Jason Momoa, especially for folks who don't know him. So here's his IMDb page. I love this. He looks so well. You know, I got to say this. I got to thank Zack Snyder because that scene in Justice League where he's in Iceland and you hear that music and he's got that bottle of, I think it's whiskey or I think it's vodka. And he's walking out on the deck and he pulls that sweater off.
Yeah.
And he starts drinking from the bottle. And he goes in the water. Oh my God, all I gotta say is thank you, Zack.
Lorraine, can you please enlarge this a bit for us? Just a little bit.
My
page, just a little.
The page. Oh yes, yes. I think it's, what is it? Enhance. I think it's like enhance.
Yes, there we
go. There we go.
Yes.
Enhance. There we go. Absolutely. Isn't it beautiful?
He is so incredibly handsome. I mean, he's like, just everything. He's the full package, and he just naturally, and there's just so much to say about Jason Momoa. He doesn't even have to try. Just even when he just has an resting stage, like just resting stage where he's just kind of standing there, he definitely has a very alluring sensuality about him it's intoxicating. I just absolutely think he's remarkable and very down to earth kind of person.
Very.
Just really is what you see is what you get. There's nothing different about, you don't have to change him at all, really. This is him. Like, you've seen him in person, so even you can attest to this. This man is exactly as he appears in these photographs. I was reading something about how he was talking about how he had to would or would not change for his physical physique for a character or whatever, and someone had measured him, and even his measurements are much bigger than what the average person, or let's say average man, would be. Just naturally, genetically, he is a larger person. As you said, he's 6'4". He does kind of have that Adonis physique. He does, seem to be very, what's the word? He does seem like he might be athletic. And I don't know if he did sports or anything like that, but I could see him, being an athlete if he needed to be.
Yeah, I think he did, if I remember correctly. I think he did play football. I hope I remember.
And as you mentioned, he was born in Hawaii. And his father, here it says, is a photographer and painter. I hope I'm saying this right. Yes. Yes, he is. And he's Hawaiian and Samoan. So he's he's considered a Pacific Islander on his father's side.
Can I just interject?
Yes, you may.
Samoan men are hot.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
I met quite a few just with that particular, like physique. I've met several Samoan men who are really, really, really attractive, but they have like that same, that same build, that same physique.
Yes.
And I just do. So yeah. I just want to put that out there. Okay, carry on.
Yes, exactly. He does have a classic Samoan look for certain, Lorena, and you make a good point of that. And is Tamora Morrison Samoan, or is he from
Tamura
another
Tamura
place?
is Maori.
Right. Okay.
Because I've met Tamura. He's from New Zealand. He's Maori. I'm trying to remember besides Samoan. I know the Rock's mother is Samoan. I know
Right.
she's Samoan. Trying to remember who else. I don't think I've met a famous Samoan actor. Most of the actors that I've met have been from New Zealand, so they've mostly been Maori. Because I had the pleasure of having a Maori war haka performed for me.
Nice.
It was the coolest toxic masculine thing I've ever seen in my life.
Oh my goodness. Can you pull up a picture of something like that for us, Lorena, so we can
The
get a
Maori war
sense of?
haka. Let
Yeah.
me put this out.
All righty.
Yes, they're the most famous. So let's see.
Can
Can
anyone
any
say testosterone?
see? This is what you put things out there in the universe, and it brings it right back to you.
Mhm.
This is exactly what I said.
So for those of you watching, this is the New Zealand All Blacks. They're
Let me turn this
one of the
down a little
world's
bit.
most famous rugby teams. And here they are performing the haka, I guess at the beginning of the match, right, Lorena?
Yes, in the beginning of the match. And it's usually done. It's done, and well, it's a war dance, so it's done to intimidate. So there is nothing um, conciliatory or half-assed about it. It's basically, we're going to kill you,
Exactly.
and you should fear that.
And of course, they're chanting, and they're actually probably saying "fear me" or something like that as they're chanting it. But even without the words, you can see it's very intimidating. Like they look very strong, and they're almost like taunting whoever is there. It's like, come at me, bro. The come at.
It is you were absolutely right. The movements, they're very strong movements, they're very deliberate movements, and all of it is done to prove how war ready and strong that they are. It is one of the most, I want to say, one of the most intimidating displays of toxic masculinity. There's nothing, you cannot be weak and do this dance. Even if you are weak, you are not going to elude that you are, at all. If you look at the movements,
Wow.
it is crazy.
It
It's
is. And, as it says, it's a war dance there that they're showing. Certainly, it is perhaps, the epitome of masculine power as they're preparing to go out to battle, if you will. In
mhm,
this particular case, a rugby match, but, at a time when they were at war, absolutely, like preparing, and this may be like their last battle.
mhm,
It is thrilling almost in a way. And certainly I think champions male expression and male power in really an amazing display of uniformity as they're kind of doing it in unison and supporting one another, knowing that each one of them have each other's back in this type of exercise. You're not solo. Every one
mhm.
of these gentlemen are there with you, and they're going to pick you up if you fall down, and they're in for it. It's an all in kind of thing, isn't it?
It really is. You can't, it's almost like if you can't bring that strength to this war dance, you can't be there. It's just you can't. So that was just, like I said, that the war haka is absolutely amazing. If you ever get the chance to witness one, I'm telling you, even seeing it in person, I'm like, hey, Go on. Nothing gonna happen to me with y'all out there, is it? Nope, 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 not gonna happen. But yeah, so his mother, so he was raised in Iowa.
Hmm.
See, that's 6'4".
Wow.
And let's see, he was in Baywatch. Now, I never watched Baywatch. Have you watched Baywatch?
I watched the original like 100 times, like in from its original airing and in syndication. So like whenever it was on, it's like, oh yeah, let me put on Baywatch. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
watching it for the Hoff. I admit it. Had a huge crush
Hey,
on David Hasselhoff, and he
hey.
was older in that show. He's a little bit older. He wasn't like maybe 25-year-old David Hasselhoff from Knight Rider, but he was
Hmm.
40-year-old David Hasselhoff, still looking hot. 20 years later, and I thought he really brought something fantastic to the show. So everybody else tuned in for Pamela Anderson, who also was stunningly beautiful, but that show was just filled with a whole bunch of eye candy. But I was there for the Hoff. So yes, I watched it.
I feel like I kind of missed out on this particular piece of culture
Oh,
because I knew about David Hasselhoff. Um, so I knew he was in Baywatch, but it wasn't something that I consistently watched like all of the time. And who was the brunette in Baywatch?
oh yeah, I
Trying to
know who you're
remember her
talking
name.
about. She was very popular too. Her name was I don't remember her name now, but I have to look it up.
Because I would run into her at the mall, like near where I
Really?
lived in LA. Yes. And I would see her like all the time.
Right.
It was
Let's see.
crazy.
Television series. Her name was. I'm so sorry for not knowing it like right
Oh
off the
no,
top.
that's okay. The name just completely just like
Yasmin Bleeth.
okay, yes. Hmm. I've seen her. I used to see her like around all the time. And let's see,
Wow.
he was in North Shore. I didn't watch North Shore, but I heard about it. I didn't I
Hmm.
didn't watch that.
Hmm.
And then he was cast, of course, as Ronan Dex in Stargate Atlantis, which achieved a
Exactly.
cult-like following. Well, of course, it was cult-like because it was sci-fi, so people were gonna
Yeah,
do
we're
that.
we're all cultists, sci-fi cultists, cult of
Yes.
Baby Yoda, cult of sci-fi. We're
Hmm.
cultists. I am a
Yes.
cult member of the sci-fi people.
We freaking love this stuff. So, I think that's something that kind of like really hit him because between Baywatch and North Shore, and then he lands Stargate Atlantis, and all these people come to see him just because he's particularly part of that show. But after that, so he showed up in Game of Thrones. That's interesting. So you have here from 2004 to 2011.
Yes.
So that's quite a gap in time, like what, like 7 years, I want to say. Where it wasn't really a whole lot going on
Right.
until he appeared in Game of Thrones as Khal Drogo. And this is interesting to illustrate the producers that he was Khal Drogo. He performed the haka,
Hmm.
traditional war dance of the Maori of New Zealand.
Yes.
Now, you've seen Game of Thrones, right? Yeah. That
Yeah.
whole that was one seriously war of freaking bandits, and and it fits. It's like I can totally see it now. I mean, I knew that when I met him that he had that kind of strength to do the part, but the simple fact that he actually performed this.
Yeah, and I did want to mention that I believe, and this may not be entirely true. I think that some Hawaiians, and perhaps this may be wrong, uh, do perform that dance too, or a version of it. Um,
Hmm.
yeah, I saw something about it, and gosh, if any of you guys watching, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah,
but
let us know.
what I was going to say is I saw something about it. Um, I don't know whether or not it's their tradition, but I have seen in some cases where they have performed a haka. So it's very funny that being Hawaiian, that he would perform that dance to show that he was perfect for this role. Certainly he's capable of doing it. There's no question in my mind that Jason Momoa could perform that dance and be incredibly convincing and intimidating and, just win somebody over after something like that. But I think it's interesting that he chose to perform that dance for the audition. I mean, it's really interesting, isn't it?
That is extremely interesting. And it makes me wonder if maybe, he kind of came across it kind of like we did, finding out from the All Blacks and actually seeing that and saying,
Yeah.
that's something that I need to know. Or if being a method actor, researching, who Khal Drogo was, because this dude, I mean, I almost want to say he's like a Genghis Khan, type nomadic warriors who, they take no prisoners, or if they do, you really don't want to be one of them. They're like that. They're like this horde where they're fierce, very fierce warriors. Nobody wants to cross them. And in order to project that kind of strength, it's kind of like, what in modern times have people seen that would make them think that? And the War Haka is one of those. So I think that's pretty freaking awesome. And it turns out that the audition he did was with the same casting director who was casting for Conan the Barbarian. Now, I haven't seen this one. I've only seen the Arnold Schwarzenegger version. So I will have to see it now. I'm kind of one of those people where when I have like my standard movie, it's kind of like the same thing with Blade Runner. I did not want to see Denis Villeneuve's version of Blade Runner because to me, Blade Runner is the Ridley Scott
Right.
version. So when I finally saw it, I was like, okay, it's all right. Wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, but actually it was all right. It was all right.
Well, Lorena, what's interesting about Momoa in Game of Thrones is, I loved him in Game of Thrones. I thought he was wonderful in this series. The thing that I noticed, or at least something that I noticed about him playing the role, this is certainly not a criticism of Jason Momoa. He was wonderful in this. Absolutely no criticism whatsoever. It was like, what I noticed is that during the love scenes, if you want to call it a love scene, it's with Daenerys, right?
Yes.
Where they're supposed to be making love, or however you want to call it, let's say in that time period, I found it very interesting that the vibe between the two of them were almost like they were brother and sister. This is how I felt about it, Lorena. I don't know how you interpreted it. I don't know how the audience interpreted it, but when they were kind of like supposed to be making love in certain, scenes, it was almost as if the vibe was so cool and that they were so connected as friends that it didn't go over the barrier of, this is me kind of like having a sexual experience with this woman. And so I found that to be very interesting because he has made other films like the one in 2003, which I'm kind of going to introduce, the Tempted film that I told you that he made with Virginia Madsen, where he was absolutely smoldering sex in that movie. So kind of like what you see here, like that's a smoldering sex. Like he's there, he looks that way. But when it came to the actual consummation scenes, let's say in some of the series, I think that since they are such good friends, it didn't have that same intensity sexually, which is fine. Like it's okay. But it was a very interesting observation that I found in it. And I wondered to myself, I'm like, why is this? I said, I bet it's almost like they're kind of laughing and joking around during the sex scene, like like what they're supposed to be doing. But other than that, I thought he was, to me, the true star in the series. This is just my opinion. Not to discount all the other actors' performances. I thought they were great too. But for me, he was the breakout role, in my opinion. What did you think about Jason Momoa in Game of Thrones?
Let's see. One, first of all, had a ton of estrogen because I heard he was going to watch it. Now, granted, it took me a while to get into Game of Thrones because I was watching Vikings instead, and I didn't have HBO. So I was like, okay, I'm watching Vikings. Then crap happened with season 8. I said, wait, it can't really have been that bad, could it? So I went back and I started watching it from the beginning. As soon as his character appeared, with how fiercely masculine he was, I was invested. I'm like, oh, shoot. Okay. This is cool. This is cool. As soon as I saw him and you hear him talk and you see him walk and you see the commanding presence that he has, this is how I can kind of tell he's such a good actor, because between meeting him in person and knowing how he is in person and then seeing this particular role that's just so diametrically opposed, except for the physique of how he is, I was like, this is amazing. And yeah, for me, he was the draw. I mean, I didn't know who Amelia Clark was. I didn't really freaking care. I just did a self insert and said, that's me, it's not her. And pretty much watched it that way. And then, when he died, that broke me because
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if I want to freaking continue, to watch this. I mean, now granted, I did gravitate more towards Daenerys. It's like I'm House Targaryen, which is why I can't wait for House of Dragon, to come out, because that family's freaking crazy.
Yeah.
Um, they really, I don't know why I like the crazy ones. Um, but like you were talking about, like the sex scenes between the two of those, there was a certain kind of seemed kind of clinical in a way. I didn't I didn't really feel like there was any passion in it. Like, we'll contrast this with, like, say, Bridgerton. You know what you know what I'm talking about. I mean, with the Duke of Hastings, and then you see, with Daphne Bridgerton. Those were extremely passionate scenes. And again, I want to guess, and you let me know your opinion on this. I think that because Bridgerton was such a female oriented audience, and that's how they were marketing it, they wanted to make sure that those particular lovemaking scenes were very passionate, so women would buy into it. And Game of Thrones, with that particular audience, and yes, I will gender type, where they're saying fantasy mostly geared towards men, which is why those sex scenes were so clinical, and was more of just the shock value to get you in and it's over with. So I'm wondering your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it's something to think about. And I think that if I were someone working on this particular uh, series, I would interject somewhat of more sensual elements to the lovemaking scenes, and they would say, "Why the hell are you adding that for?" Like, and I would say, "Well, I have a feeling that women will really like if he does this, or you know, this might go a long way. Women will remember that he did this."
Mhm.
And and they would say, no, we don't need that stuff. This is Game of Thrones. This isn't, a soap opera. And I would contest and say, no, 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 trust me. Women will be talking about those love scenes for quite some time. Long after people's interest in Game of Thrones has waned, they'll talk about the sex scenes in Game of Thrones between Daenerys, and the Jason Momoa character for a while if you do these things. But is kind of a missed opportunity because he is so sensual. Like, he is so incredibly sensual. And I think
Mhm.
it would have been, another element to add to Game of Thrones that, would have been pretty spectacular and really kind of raise the bar in the show, which was already good at that point while he was there.
Right.
So that's what I think about it.
Yeah, it's almost for me that they almost could have, like, and I can't believe I'm saying this. They almost could have just cut the sex scenes between the two of them
Yeah.
and concentrated more on the fact that she was learning his language and they're learning how to communicate, because those scenes where they actually start speaking each other's language, and even when they don't, the names that they have for each other, I freaking love that.
Yes.
I absolutely love those scenes. So let's see. So there is another another movie which I can't wait to actually talk about this, because
Yes.
you got me hooked on it, and everybody's having fun like, how the heck can you not find out where the heck you're going? Okay, so there is a film that is called it's called Tempted, right?
Yes.
Okay, and I
From
believe it
2003.
was 2003. Okay, so this, wow, he filmed that right before Johnson Family
Mhm.
Vacation.
He did. He did.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay, so yeah, so this so tell us a little bit more about this TV movie here he was
Well,
on.
to be honest with you, if you look at this photo of him, you can quite see that, yes, of course, this is, like a Lifetime style film. That's
Mm-hmm.
what this is. And, you have young Jason Momoa, because this was in 2003, so he was quite young at the time, and he had just come off of Baywatch, the show, which in a sense was not really something that he looked on. He actually looked at it as almost as if it might have damaged his career a little bit, or made him less employable, if you will, Lorena.
Mm-hmm.
And so, while he got employment from it, it didn't lead to something that he thought he would be able to push in a lucrative career. So he made
Mm-hmm.
this film. And, I have to say that with this was like one of these films where honestly, I think he just showed up in the morning. It was filmed in Hawaii, and he just show up in the morning, in shorts and maybe flip flops, and go on the set and start filming. You know what I mean? Like it was kind of this just au natural Jason Momoa, and without even trying, the film is very appealing. Of course, as I've mentioned to you, it starts off with a woman who is married, played by Virginia Madsen, who looks
Mm-hmm.
incredible in the film. And she's sort of like in the Northeast where I am right now. And it's snowing, or maybe not the Northeast, but let's just say a place where it snows a lot. And she has to go to Hawaii, because she has to bring ashes of someone that cared for her nanny, to Hawaii. And there's a lot of things that she finds out while she goes there. But I think it's very interesting because she didn't go there looking for this experience of being attracted to this younger man. And of course he finds her attractive, because Virginia Madsen looks incredible in this film. She looks great. But she is kind of tired and dealing with the death of somebody, which is not
Mm-hmm.
easy. And also finding out other things about her family that she wasn't really prepared to hear. And then poop, here comes Jason Momoa. Boom, you're like, poof, where did this guy come from?
Mm-hmm. It's just like, wow, you know, where this guy come from? And speaking of that, I actually have the scene where they first meet. Of course, I'm gonna have to freaking EFAP this, but it's the classic setup. I'm just coming here because I just have business to take care of, and it's like I'm just emotionally worn out. I just want to get to where I'm going. Oh, okay. Changing plans. So here we go. I'm gonna have to scrub this a little bit.
Mhm.
So she arrives at the airport from Boston. Okay. Kind of like to put in context. You leave the cold Northeast, you're in Hawaii, you get there, and you get there at night, and there's a downpour that's about to happen. It's kind of like, really? This is this is what I come here for. So that's Virginia Madsen, right? For folks who remember the movie Dune, she excuse me, David Lynch's version of Dune.
Right.
I have to clarify. She's the narrator that you see in the in the beginning. I love that part of the movie. So there she is.
She's
with her,
carrying
and
the ashes in that
yes,
box.
she's carrying the ashes with her, and she's just like, okay, I'm here with the ashes. And then this guy's like,
No, I'm waiting for someone. I guess that's what she's saying. No, I'm waiting for someone. And she's, what is it? How long of a flight is this, Lorena? Is it like,
it is an epic journey. If it's, I'm assuming there's a stopover. So she would have to fly from Boston to Los Angeles. So that's, I want to say, let's see, going there takes longer than coming back. So going there, it's about, I want to say about a 6 to 8 hour flight from Boston to LA. Then if she had to fly from LA to Hawaii, I think that's another 8 to 10 hours. It's not a very short flight. So
no.
think if she had stops in between, possibly, like God forbid she had to change planes in like Chicago or something like that. It's like at the end of this trip, it's a long, long journey to get here. And she just wants to just just wants to relax.
Yeah, she wants to crash right now. She doesn't even want to talk about like, well, I'm supposed to be meeting somebody. She's probably just like, please, I can't. I can't. I've just gotten off a really long flight. I'm so sorry, sir, but I can't function right now. And that's where she is. You're exactly right, Lorena. This is where we're picking her up from in this clip.
So he's like, okay, ma'am. So it's just like, okay, so now I got this family truckster picking me up. And I mean, this is pretty much what she expects. It's not like there's a hotel shuttle that's taking her. It's like someone from the extended, I call it the extended family, so to speak. It's like when you go to the airport and you don't have a limo and you don't have a shuttle, but your family member in the minivan comes to pick you up at the
Exactly.
airport.
Exactly.
Oh, but let's see. He gets out of the car. We don't know it's him yet. He's got on boots, and hell, you see her face. He's like, oh.
Yeah, she's like, what? Who is that?
Who's it? You look at her face.
And he's got all the confidence in the world, right? He's like, what up, bro? What's up?
Yeah, how you doing? Shaka, keep it easy. How you doing? Yeah, walks out. He's got on jeans, boots, wife beater.
Hair blowing in the breeze.
Just like, yeah, I know a storm's coming. Yeah, no worries. No worries. No worries. You'll be fine. She's kind of like, what have I gotten myself into? Oh my God, he looks so good.
Oh my goodness. And this is why this film kind of like is one of my favorites, because it just starts off with this kind of like carefreeness. Like he is the epitome of being carefree when she has like all this, stuff that she has to worry about, her family and the ashes and getting there and, how things are going to go down. She has a lot on her mind and a lot on her plate. And here comes this guy who's so like cool and down to earth and, absolutely, friendly. She was not expecting this at all.
No. She's like, I have all these responsibilities and I just need to get to where it is that I want to go. And he just comes out like, yeah, that's all good. No worries, nothing to work. And that's Lily's nephew. She's like, oh, really? Are you now? I have to say, all right, this is a Lifetime movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Then there's a certain formula to a Lifetime movie. You have exhausted, overworked, or just stressed out woman, and it's like, I just want to relax. It's all I want to do. I just want to relax. And then she'll run into a guy who at a subconscious level feels that she can actually, relaxed. So that's why you have this reaction like, oh wow, okay, I did not expect to run into this. This is very nice. My stress level is actually going down quite a bit. Who is this person? And Lifetime does this, Hallmark does this, where there's this really masculine guy that a woman meets, and she's instantly attracted to those types of qualities. So he didn't come out the car, kind of skulking around. Are you so and so? Whatever. He just strutted out there like, hey, I came here to come pick you up. Storming, yeah. So what? I got a job to do. Trust me, you're gonna be okay.
Well, I can tell you that she probably isn't thinking of what she was thinking about 5 minutes ago.
Oh hell no. She's like, what ashes? What ashes? Forget the fact that I've been flying for probably about 24 hours straight. I forget that. Forget that. If I would have known I was going to see this when I got here, I would have got here sooner. Apologize to the pretty lady for making her wait.
Oh, goodness gracious.
I've been like, can you say it? It's like, can you say it again? Can you say it again? We'll back that up a little bit. Say it again. So again, the exposition. Lily's Emma. Everybody knows. And let's see.
She can't believe it. She's in disbelief.
Total disbelief. It's like, how do you know me? And he goes into it a little bit further when they're in the car, where he tells her, small island where it gets round. But it's just
oh my God.
the hair. Okay. And you can just and this is that moment where in those Lifetime movies, something's gonna happen.
Yes, that's something else that I have to say about Lifetime, is that they kind of don't really disappoint us in regards to delivering. I mean, it's, they obviously it's not an adult film, but, there are like intimate encounters. And, I kind of like that. But I think what's interesting about this is that this is Jason Momoa not even pretending to be anybody other than himself. This is him. That's Jason Momoa in a nutshell. He came to pick you up from the airport, Lorena. We're sending Momoa to pick you up from the airport. Okay.
This is totally him. Yeah, I'm sorry for making you wait. I'm sorry for making you wait. Just that charm that you see here. No, he's not acting. This is who he really is. And I think that's another reason why when I was watching this movie, why this scene right here is pretty much what hooked me, because this look that she has on her face, let me go over here. This look that she had on her face a little bit earlier, when she saw him, that was the look on my face when I first met Jason Momoa. I'm not freaking kidding.
Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. That is so fantastic to hear that.
It's just like, is he really like that? Because you see them and, you kind of, before you go to get the picture taken and all that, it's like, are they really, is he really whatever? And it's like, I meet him and I'm like, hi. I'm like, hi, my name is, he's like, oh, nice to meet you. I'm like, so there's 12-year-old girl screaming in my head and everything. And I'm just like, my name is so-and-so. And he's like, oh yeah, nice name. I have a friend named so-and-so. Like, I was about to charm. Yes. Would you like to be my friend? That's exactly it. Just kind of like that instant, laid back, kind of charm. So yeah, definitely check this film out. You can see, of course, you can see it on YouTube. but it's just interesting to see like the roles that he's had before, to the roles that that he's crazily famous for now.
Definitely. And I did want to mention that right after he does that film in 2003, Lorena, what's the, and I'm sorry to make you pan down.
Oh no, 2003, did you say?
There was a point that I was going to make. I can remember what I'm making. Yes. He goes into, what's the, you mentioned that you did see him in the Johnson Family Vacation.
Yes.
And you liked that film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And then after that, he goes into what's the next few films that he ends up doing?
Let's see. So I've never heard of this movie, Pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that is. A group of people who repress the grisly memories of what happened after a childhood swim to a pipeline find now that they simply cannot forget the
That's
past.
a horror film.
Wow.
Oh my God. I didn't even know he had made that.
I may have to look at that. I've never heard. It's just like there are these things that I just did not know that he was in.
From what I understand, after Jason Momoa had done, let's say maybe the Lifetime film and the Baywatch film,
mm-hmm.
he decided that he was going to go back to school. Because
really?
his career was not going the way he wanted. Yeah. And essentially what happened was he went back to school and he studied marine biology. And he's actually said more than once in interviews that he wants to be respected for his intelligence, because being intelligent is very important to him. Mm-hmm. So, that was something that was important to him. And, as soon, let's say, and it's true, we did speak about his role in Game of Thrones. Mm-hmm. Aquaman ended up being one of the highest grossing movies of all time, making over $1 billion mm-hmm. in the box office. And what he decided to do, or I don't know whether it was before or after or during, but he said as Aquaman, he kind of had this feeling like he had to have a respect for the ocean. And so he decided that like he didn't want to have anything to do with plastic anymore. Mm-hmm. And he's trying to he supports products that don't use plastic in them and that are biodegradable. So like he's designing like a pair of biodegradable flip-flops,
Interesting.
And he doesn't like to use plastic containers, so he uses metal containers. And like he has this feeling that there's just too much plastic. He says even as he's flying around the world, he looks out the window and he sees plastic in the oceans and it makes him feel bad. He's like, now that I'm Aquaman, I have to have some responsibility. And I thought that was really interesting for him to connect being mm-hmm. Aquaman with being, a conservationist. I thought that was fantastic thing about him.
That is really cool, because I don't know if you've ever seen this commercial that he did for the company that makes the ball mason jars now makes these aluminum cups.
Oh, really?
And he actually did this commercial for them. He's like, like change the way you're thinking. So you got this cup, you use it several times, then when you're done, guess what? You can go recycle it. I was like, that's a freaking amazing idea. I actually went looking for them at Target. I didn't buy them yet. I just happened to look for it. They're kind of expensive initially, but I would almost rather buy them than buy the plastic cup. So I thought it was really cool that he did that commercial, and more the emphasis on being able to recycle aluminum, since most people have that in their heads that you can recycle aluminum. I just thought that was cool that he did that. And not only that it was recycled aluminum, but from a company that's, over like 100 years, people have used to like preserve all kinds of like different kinds of foods. And the ubiquitous mason jar, who doesn't know what a mason jar is? I have several. That's one of my favorite things. I have a mason jar that holds my makeup brushes.
Mm-hmm. They look good and you can reuse them. They come in different sizes. They're fantastic. You can freeze the jar if you want to use it as a freezer container. They're very versatile, but you're right, Lorena. And the other thing that I was going to say is that, as you mentioned, when he starred in, I think it was Game of Thrones, the same gentleman who was involved in that production was also involved with Conan. And so he gets this role as Conan.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, we know a lot about Conan. And he actually, he has the physique for Conan. And what I find very interesting is that we all associate Conan with Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? Because he
Right,
kind of made this
exactly.
role of
I'm sorry, I'm
Conan.
making everybody dizzy.
No, you're not. You're not making anybody dizzy. You're fine. He made this. Schwarzenegger kind of defined what Conan would be for us, because we had all those fantastic Frank Frazetta. I think that's the artist's pictures on the novels of Conan, and
Mm-hmm.
then it seemed like very appropriate so that Arnold Schwarzenegger was exactly like a picture perfect version of Conan. And we all watched all the different versions and things and I enjoyed them very much. But
Mm-hmm.
this was the first Conan that I've ever seen that was over the top sexy, in my opinion. Now, I'm not going to go ahead and say that this was the best version of Conan ever made. I think that they could have given him a much better script, a much better storyline, but there's no denying it. This is another movie that's just pure eye candy. When he's on the screen, he just
Mm-hmm.
shines. And it's almost like the entire rest of the cast isn't even there, Lorena. Like, I've never seen anything like this. This would have been a very hard film to cast, because he would have needed somebody who had the same level of presence on the screen as he had. But for a film where they were taking, a person like Jason Momoa, I don't know
Mm-hmm.
who else they would have had to play the supporting roles, but think about it. James Earl Jones was in one of the Conans with Arnold
Yes.
Schwarzenegger, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, at the time was not as well known as he is now, so having a big deal actor in there. I don't remember the entire cast in this version of Conan from 2011, but I
Mm-hmm.
watched it, and while the script is not great, Momoa is fantastic in this. And I started to think that they need to I almost felt like he was good enough to have his own series, but not as Conan, as something else. And so it was quite
Interesting.
appropriate that he ended up in Game of Thrones,
Mm-hmm.
because that was, almost like another role that he could define as himself versus taking on the persona of a very well-known character like Conan. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was very interesting to watch this film. I think that he was incredibly sensual in a way that Arnold Schwarzenegger was not as Conan,
Mm-hmm.
which is something else that I have to say I wasn't expecting to see.
Interesting.
He couldn't help himself. But maybe it was, there could have been things, Lorena, like the lighting and the way that they, would film his body. Even, like
Mm-hmm.
if they decided to put certain makeup to accentuate part of his body, comes
Mm-hmm.
off in a more sexual way. Versus Conan with Arnold, I didn't get the same sexual vibes from Arnold. Not that I'm saying he wasn't
Mm-hmm.
a beautiful male physique, but it certainly was very different. You've seen Conan with Arnold Schwarzenegger, and
Mm-hmm.
you can see this promotional photo um, with Momoa on the front. Does it seem sexual to you? More sexual, in your opinion?
It is definitely. It definitely is. You know what? Because here's what I'm gonna do instead of like relying on my memory that can somehow cause problems. See. Yep, the one from 82. If I remember the poster correctly, it was just something that was very imposing. And yeah, here we go.
Yeah, look at
Okay.
that.
So it's like this, which it gets the job done. It kind of does. I mean obviously does. It's like it's, the strength of the character. He looks like a barbarian. He fits the part. If I remember correctly, his accent at the time was so thick that they had to get like another actor to dub his lines because nobody could really understand him too well. It's like he's definitely sexually attractive in this, but if you compare it to this poster, Jason Momoa is more sensual. There's an undercurrent of sensuality, and again, when you come to the movie that's like this. This is to appeal strictly to those people who are fans of the fantasy genre, which would be predominantly men, which there is zero wrong with that because that's just a demographic, and this is what I would expect. The one with Jason Momoa seems to take more into account. Of course, you see women on here, that more women are going to see that because, contrary to opinions that other people have, women go to movies to see hot men.
Yes, this is very true. And fairly recently, and I don't know if I'd mentioned this earlier, the Batman I Am Vengeance film that came out a few
Mm-hmm.
weeks ago, another member of the fandom had commented, it's a man who said this. He says that he was in the theater with his wife and he looked
Mm-hmm.
around in the theater and he was surprised at how many women were there. And I had kind of laughed and said, of course they're there. You know, Robert Pattinson is the Batman. Of course they're going to be there. You know, it's the first time that we have a heartthrob playing a major character like this. You
Mm-hmm.
know, of course we're going to show up. You know, this is a victory for us. You know, we're proud to be in this movie theater with the female gaze, absolutely
Mm-hmm.
enjoying him. He was great in the film. You saw it, right, Lorena?
I haven't seen it yet, but other
Oh, what?
people have to. No, I
Oh,
haven't.
Lorena.
I
Oh, you
haven't.
have to.
I haven't seen it. I'm probably gonna see it soon. I'm planning to probably see it tomorrow. I am gonna see it soon. It's on my list of things to see soon because there's certain things I want to opine on about it, and I need to have seen the film in order to properly opine on it.
Absolutely.
But it goes back to what you were saying, like with the previous Batmans, like I'll say, of course, my favorite actually is oh God, I'm blanking. Holy crap, the first one. I'm seeing his name, and for
Oh,
some
Michael
reason,
Keaton?
yes, yes. So Michael Keaton. I wouldn't exactly call him a complete heartthrob, but he got the job done, and I like the job that he did. George Clooney, yeah, yeah, yeah. Christian Bale, he was good looking, whatever. But you have Robert Pattinson, who his fan following comes from the Twilight movies. Granted, I did meet him when he was Cedric Diggory in
Oh,
in
you're so lucky he was hot then too.
he was so thin for me though. I thought I wanted to give him a meal. He was so skinny. He was so skinny, but he was so cute and he was so funny. He was like, "You came all the way from America." I'm like, "Yes, I did." Yes, I did. He was so nice. He was so cool. And then of course, he was in Twilight. Now, Twilight was huge. I mean, it just was. It was huge. It is what it was. It was huge. And you had Robert Pattinson that was in it. So when you're casting Batman and you cast Robert Pattinson, guess what? You're going to have all of those women who love Twilight who are going to go see him in Batman. Absolutely. They're going to do that. I really can't think of anybody else that would bridge that particular demographic right now, and that's kind of what they went with, but it made total sense, and an acknowledgement of the fact that you can't just cast a character that is only going to appeal to men. You need to cast a character that is going to appeal to women as well, and you kind of get best of both worlds, in that, at least when you do it right, where you understand that there's going to be the male gaze and the female gaze, and there's nothing wrong with either of them. If anything, it makes for a whole lot more money from your movie.
Definitely. And something else that it did, at least in Patterson's case, is that, for him, he wants to go on in his career. He's had a fantastic career so far, but he
Hmm.
also wants to go on and play more mature roles. And he needed that maturity, a mature role like the Batman, in order for his career to progress naturally. I don't, he's not going to be doing any more teenage heartthrob films.
Mm-mm.
He wants something that has a more adult nature to it. And this was perfect for him. And perhaps that might be something else about this Conan that is so different, is that it does have this. It has a romanticized Conan feel to it. Even this poster, Lorena, feels a bit more romanticized. That could be the cover of a romance novel.
It really could, because when you look at it, it's like, look at this, and then it really does. So yeah, I am definitely gonna have to sit. I have to catch up on so many things, but I am gonna have to go and watch this in light of Jason Momoa being in it, because honestly, if there's anybody who I honestly cannot believe that this movie came out and I didn't know about it, and didn't know that he was actually in it. There we go. Okay. So, any last thoughts before we wrap up
Yes.
with Jason Momoa?
Yes, there are last thoughts. I made notes and I have to go back. I lost
I love it. I love it.
lost my space of where I wanted to say. Um, yes. So he is also a practicing Buddhist,
Mm.
and he also learned how to paint, and he also is a musician as well. So he definitely has a lot of talents. And the other thing I was going to say is that what else was I going to say? He recently had a film that came out on Netflix called Sweet Girl, and I watched about half of it. It was pretty good. Um, I think
Hmm.
that he is someone who is going to keep being successful, especially with the Aquaman series, because the Aquaman series definitely plays up a lot of his sex appeal for sure.
Oh yeah.
But I also think that he can do serious roles, like in the movie that I was talking about called Sweet Girl.
Hmm.
But I also saw him in a film that he made with Bruce Willis, where he kind of played a gangster in the film, but he was very good in that role too. So I think that he has a lot of potential to go in different directions with films, as long as the scripts are up to par. And if the script is not up to par, then treat it the way the film should be treated. Like, for example, in the Tempted film, where the film is supposed to be about sexual attraction.
Hmm.
The title is Tempted, so we know what that film is about. But perhaps the Conan version one, might have been better as Conan in Love, um, versus Conan the Barbarian. Would have had a completely different appropriate name, because
Hmm.
he didn't seem like a barbarian in the movie to me, but it didn't
Hmm.
matter for me. But for Conan purists, they wanted to see, that barbarian part. And I think that he has the power, just even in his own presence, to change the tone of a film. So this is,
Hmm.
something that's very interesting. Not every actor can do that. And the only other actor that I've seen who can kind of do that a lot is The Rock, because I've heard people say
Hmm.
that when The Rock is on screen, it's almost like everybody else disappears. He fills up the screen, and he's enough to carry an entire film. And we've seen The Rock film after film after film be
Right.
the star, and you could just watch him all day long. And he is also, as we mentioned, Pacific Islander, or is a Pacific Islander, from what I understand. I think, and the tradition of wrestling in his family, which I really do love that element. But I think that Jason Momoa is a rare talent. He's very masculine. He has beautiful qualities. Obviously, he's a very attractive man. Very nice. I think he's going to be somebody who we're going to see in films for the next 20, 30 years. Just kind of being able at this point, hopefully after his success in Aquaman, he can pick and choose films that
Hmm.
he wants. And however, I also still want to see him in a few romances, like that Tempted film. So I hope he does make a few of those films. It throws us a bone,
Hmm.
so that we can kind of enjoy and have fun with that as well.
Okay. Oh, I love it. Excellent, excellent analysis. And one thing that I want to dovetail from something that you said when we're talking about, if he has a great script, he's just able to do so much of it. There is a series that I did not like after about 3 episodes, because I gave it 3 episodes. I gave it 3 episodes. This one was called C. And have you seen this?
Yes, and I had the same reaction you did, Lorraine.
It was I did the scripts were not they were not very good. It had a good premise, but they kind of squandered it. Um, you could tell he has the ability, definitely, to take on serious roles, but can be really handicapped if the script isn't that good. And that happens for a lot of actors. You get like a bad script and you do the best that you can with it. But it's like when you see Jason Momoa dealing with the script that's obviously bad, it feels like a waste of talent, you know? It's just like it's such a it just doesn't work. It's such a waste. It's like I love seeing him, but the writing was just so bad. I just said, you know what, I can't. I swear, I think that's I think that's I think that's pumped up a little bit. There's also another one. It was called Frontier. Now that I'm
Oh,
remembering
yes.
it,
Yes.
that was good.
Oh, that was so good. Oh,
That was Frontier was absolutely amazing. And
yes.
I'm kind of annoyed that I didn't get a chance to finish watching Frontier. I watched a couple of episodes and then kind of got sidetracked with other things. This is definitely better than C. I don't know what's up with that rating, but this was really good. I
It
mean,
was phenomenal. It was the entire cast was phenomenal. The writing in this was incredible, and he just epitomized the character so well.
mhm,
Um, Really, this untamed, where he has to fight every minute of the day. It's sort of like a television version of that film that Leonardo DiCaprio was in, where he won the Academy Award for Best Actor. I can't
mhm.
remember what it was called. Was it called? Um,
What was that movie called?
you know the one.
Why am I drawing a blank?
Well, it was a while ago,
Oh, okay. Okay, that may be
wasn't
why.
it? Yeah, it was a while ago.
You know,
It wasn't yesterday that he won it. It was for the film. Huh. Well, he plays in this film where he plays a man who's a frontiersman, and as a frontiersman,
oh, was that the bear?
yes, the one about the bear,
Oh,
and it's
okay.
called, what is it called?
Uh,
I'm pulling it up.
the Revenant.
Yes, The Revenant. That's right.
Mhm.
You remembered.
I had to Google that
Okay,
sucker.
all right.
I
Well,
had to Google that sucker.
this reminds me, or has the same feel of a television version of The
Mhm,
Revenant, because it is the frontier, and there
mhm.
are a lot of dangers from friends and foes in this frontier world, and
Right.
he shines in this.
He really does. This is one of those series where I feel bad that I kind of dropped out just because I didn't have the time. But every episode that I saw, he was just flawless in it, and I bought that. You know, he's this rugged frontiersman where it's just your wits and all of that. So it's an amazing series, and I can't believe I'd freaking forgotten about it there for a while, but it's
And
really good.
Lorena, this makes me think, if I were a casting agent or someone who was making a story about early America, and you and I've talked about the one where Jamie Bell was in, where he plays the spy. Is it called, what is it called? The
Turn.
Turn.
Hmm.
If I saw Momoa perform in this as well as he did, anything that had to do with early America, frontiersmen, this sort of genre, I would immediately want to cast Jason Momoa in, because I know he would make it, come to life.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
so as far as I'm concerned, I hope we see him in more things like this. He
Hmm.
can do whatever he likes, and we support him, of course. But when he shined in this frontier story, we can see that this is clearly one of his fortes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Ugh, man. It's just like I could just pretty much go on and on and on
Mhm.
talking about him. But I'm so glad that we got to like highlight him in this series, because this is what we do here. We pick out these, classically toxic male actors and their roles, and you know what? You get to know more about them, get to go, deeper, below the surface, and yeah, it's great. It's great stuff.
It really really is. And, he is certainly, I think, a treasure. And, we've been enjoying him from day one. Certainly an actor to be celebrated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. So, with that said, folks, we're going to wrap up this episode of Toxic Male Appreciation. Please do follow myself and her here on YouTube and on Twitch. We certainly do appreciate that. And please do subscribe to her channel, subscribe to my channel. And until next time, take care, everyone.